I don't know a whole lot about the kind of national security advice KT McFarland has given presidents and secretaries of state and politicians of all stripes over the course of these many decades. But I guarantee you she has never given advice like, hey, Senator Van Hollen, I've got a good idea. Why don't you drop everything and go down to El Salvador for an illegal immigrant gang member? That's not good. That is not good national security advice, I don't think, KT.
Oh, it's not good advice under any conceivable category you want to give it. You know, bad national security advice, bad domestic security advice, bad political advice. I mean, this guy just is like, check every box. Wrong, 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 wrong. The only thing that I just laugh about, because there's nothing funny about this, but there is one little glimmer, is that I think President Trump trolled him. You know, Van Hollen gets to El Salvador. He's on the plane. He's on the way to El Salvador. And then all the information gets released about how really bad this gang member is and the crimes he had committed, and that, you know, just refuting everything about the poor, innocent man who was deported to El Salvador without his rights. I mean, you just can't make it up. It's like Keystone Cops. So I certainly hope that you can't, and it just makes you mad. Because at the same time, we hear from, you know, Mrs. Moran, how do you pronounce it? Moran? About her daughter. Yeah. Moran. Yeah. About her daughter. And you just think, right, that's a guy who, maybe the gang member who was deported, maybe it wasn't him who committed these crimes, but could have been. That's, well, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
I got to bring up, I don't really want to bring up, but I got to bring up Hillary Clinton, where she posted on X, before the election, I warned that there is no safe haven under authoritarianism. If they can ship Kilmar Abrego Garcia to a foreign prison accused of no crime with no trial, they can do it to anyone. Americans of conscience must stand against this now. What's your reaction, KT?
No common sense. Are they not listening to what the American people are telling them? Are they living in their little secure bubbles where nothing bad happens to their families, nothing bad happens to their children, nothing bad happens on their streets? They just don't get it, that the rest of the country is mad. It's an easy fix. President Trump has shown that you didn't need a whole lot of legislation, you just needed a new president. And he's fixing it. And yet there's some people still holding out saying, oh, no, it's a great crime against humanity, a great crime against American constitutionalism. It's not. It's a great protection of the American people.
KT, what message do other countries get from this as they see this develop? They see the good relationship that President Bukele at El Salvador and the President of the United States have, and this cooperation specifically with regard to sending these people back into their own countries. If you're the leader of a foreign nation and there's a significant representation of your country's citizenship in our country illegally, are you reaching out to the president? Or are you proactively saying, all right, let's fix this together?
The Europeans have the same problem we have. It's in some ways it's worse because it's gone on longer, and they don't know what to do about it. Whether assimilate. They said, well, we'll bring all these people in from North Africa and from the Middle East, and because we feel sorry for them, because we need them to take jobs our own people won't take. Not dissimilar to the United States far left radical rationale for doing it, but the Europeans are now really stuck. I mean, the social services costs of these, the health care costs, education costs, housing costs, not to mention the law and order costs. And as Vice President J.D. Vance said, the issue in your societies is you're letting these people run things, that you're crushing free speech in order to give full-throated voice to these anti-European cultures. And as a result, the Europeans are looking at us to try to figure out how to do it. So the thing is, for the countries who have people in the United States that should be repatriated, right? Salvador, Colombia, name those countries. Those countries are thinking, okay, so we can take our own back. But other countries are saying, we don't want those people back. We're happy to have them gone. They're criminals, especially the ones who came across the southern border in the United States, as we've just seen. So I think that the next step is going to be for President Trump to set the stage and say, okay, Salvador is taking Salvadorian citizens, but maybe Salvador has made the offer to take citizens of the whole region. We'll probably have regional capitals countries which will say, hey, that's good for us. We'll take them, even if they're not our citizens. Have them come here, and we'll sort out to get them back to their own countries. It's good business for them. It's good for the United States' security, and ultimately they'll solve their problems in their own neighborhoods with those people.
So one of the things Secretary Marco Rubio just announced was basically the dismantling of the Global Engagement Center, putting, I think, 30 staffers on leave, basically really trying to basically say something that was set up for propaganda is now something that was used to target Americans. What's your analysis on that?
You know, we used to have these great programs, Mercedes, Radio Free Europe, all these great programs that the State Department, largely under the State Department, but in Voice of America, et cetera, where we spoke behind the Iron Curtain and we spoke to underdeveloped countries and we championed America. And we told them what a great country it was. Democracy worked. We were proud to be Americans. And as a result, that really went a long ways in Eastern Europe and behind the Iron Curtain in the former Soviet Union to tell countries, look, there's hope for you. There's a great country out there. But what's happened in the last 20 or so years is those organizations have all been turned into anti-American organizations. So the propaganda we're feeding the world is against ourselves. So we're sort of stabbing ourselves. And it's happening at the same time that China particularly has gone to the world and said, China's great, America's bad. And America's saying America's bad. So what message are we giving to people around the world? It's that Americans don't even like themselves. So it's about time those things they're expensive. They're, in a lot of cases, they're for people who really don't need this is a whole industry of people getting these grants.
Yeah.
And they're certainly doing great harm to American national security and what we call soft power.
Speaking with KT McFarland, KT, you've been a real sort of anchor for us during the whole tariff conversation. You've been able to shed light on it for us and tell us that this is really just eventually going to be about China and the shut, and that's how it's played out. We're now getting reports that European leaders are going to be going to Beijing, like proactively going to China and sit with President Xi and discuss potential arrangements and expansions of their relationship. Is that something that we should be concerned about? That because we always have sort of made the bet that Europe sort of likes our, national security footprint and the military protection that we provide, and they would rather deal with us, knowing that our consumer base is really the most desired on the planet. Are we nervous now that China is engaging directly with them?
Well, China's been ripping everybody off. And so the countries that are going to China, they're also going to the United States. They're trying to cut the best deal. At the end of the day, once President Trump and I hope it happens soon, once he gets the first and second renegotiated bilateral tariff trade agreement with a big country, whether it's the United Kingdom, whether it's Italy, Japan they're negotiating with right now, that's going to change everything. That changes the dynamic because then every country realizes, look, if we have to choose between China and America, we want America, and we better get on that bandwagon as quickly as we can. China's not going to give anybody any deals. China is facing an economy where if they do not export to other countries, massively export, their economy collapses. It's an export-driven economy. Their economy collapses. And so China's going to not do anybody any favors. It wants to sell its goods, to all the European countries, and it doesn't really want to take their goods into China because that screws up their business model. So, I'm sure everybody likes to go to Beijing and they'll have some nice, fruitful conversations, but I don't think it goes anywhere.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
So the game is in Washington, and that's where to look. And I do hope President Trump can get some points on the board really soon with one or two bilateral trade agreements.
All right, we got to leave it there. KT McFarland, always great to talk with you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.